let's get started. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Where you from? You said you were in Central America.
Yeah. I'm American, but my parents are from Central America. They're from a country called Belize. It used to be called British Honduras back in the before the 1980s. And in that country, it's African descent, but it was English rule. So we still have the Queen of England on our money there. So a lot of people go by a lot of strange traditions that people may think is strange now, and what you would call voodoo, we call obia. So now with obia, it's similar to like with voodoo or hoodoo. People believe, if you believe in it, you give power to it. Similar to that film, The Skeleton Key. So in the premise of the film, it had a lot of truths, and you only give strength to that level of belief when you believe in it. It's energy. We're energetic beings. Everything is sound, man. Everything is vibration. So if you have a certain level of vibration and it's in fear-based, or it's negative, or if it's positive, you can give someone courage with positive reinforcement. So in that same sense, if someone, for instance, a woman wants you to be completely infatuated with her. So what she would do, she would make a pot of rice, and she would put the pot of rice on the floor, and she would stoop on the pot of rice, and this may seem vulgar, and it is vulgar. She would stoop on the pot of rice with no underwear on, and the heat from the pot would rise up, and she would drip it's normally through menstruation times, and she would drip blood in the pot of rice, and she would feed you this. It's very gross, but these people believe that if the man that she desires eats of that food, then it will be a possibility that he would be completely infatuated with her. And I've seen instances where you know how you'll tell a friend, hey, listen, man, you shouldn't mess with her. She's messing with this guy, or she's doing this, or there's nothing she can do wrong in his eyes.
He can't.
It's almost he's under a spell, and I've seen it personally, and it was a common thing where you don't eat from someone, or you don't let people play with your hair. You don't let people take your hair. When we have parties, to this day, I put up like toothbrushes and brushes and things like that. If we have a get together, people step in my bathroom, you won't find anything in there but, the necessary things that a bathroom needs. You're not going to find any personal items of myself or my children, and I put all those things aside. Also, my wife is of Polish and Mexican descent, so she creates these protection bracelets for me. So there's times when I would just feel sick, and I would have an argument with someone from my past or something like that. And it's very interesting where I was just at work typing one day, and my bracelet just broke off. It just burst off my wrist, and I've been wearing it for months and months and months. And of course, things deteriorate. We're in a universe of entropy. You know what I mean? Everything breaks down.
It does.
But it just mistakenly, I'm just feeling heavy, and I'm feeling like someone has some sort of ill intentions towards me. And all of a sudden, this breaks. So my wife said, your bracelet took a hit for you.
Oh, man, that's deep. Oh, wow.
So you heard of evil eye and stuff like that and all that. So it ties to all these belief systems. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. So everything is relative. Everything is relative. So these are these belief systems. So if you don't believe in it, that is fine. It is in your best interest not to believe in it, because the minute you do, you can't not see it. You can't unsee it after you've already seen it. I've seen things of spirits.
What's the most intense one?
The most intense one, when they talk about the devil riding you when you're asleep.
Oh, you're asleep. In the South Carolina, we call it the witches riding you. So
correct.
It's the same thing.
Same thing. So I'm laying down, and I'm trying to get up, and I cannot move. I can't yell. My mouth is moving, but nothing audible enough for anyone to come and help me comes out. And I'm wide awake. I'm totally coherent. I'm looking at the clock on my wall. My TV is on, but I cannot get up out of bed.
What do you say to the skeptics that just say that's sleep paralysis?
Well, after some time, I just get up.
Okay.
I
So it's
get
not
up.
paralysis.
No, no. And I don't have any sort of illness. I don't have any condition or anything like that. And it hasn't happened since that experience.
And paralysis with sleep is more a chronic situation anyway.
Correct. Yeah, it will continuously, it will reproduce itself if it's a condition that I have. But for me, when I bring up the situation to a friend or to someone else, that happened to me, and it happened after I had this sort of negative experience.
So that ties hand in hand.
Yeah, absolutely. Even the things that we watch scary films and things like that. Horror films, I kind of cut off myself from watching horror films, not for the fear of it, but some things really hit home, and they combine truths in these stories.
They do.
These are lores. They bring these lores into your reality, and when you watch these sort of films, it will affect you to a cellular level because your mind can't tell the difference.
I've had a couple of, I can't watch it anymore. I think one called The Creeper or something like that. Saws a lady in half. I know it's fake, but
sure,
it's too. The idea is even kind of weird.
Sure.
And, so...
Yeah.
And then that's another one. Children of the Corn, I watched it when I was like 5.
Yeah, that's another one
and
I just can't reproduce.
Man, it's so scary to me even as an adult. When I was 5, it was ultra scary.
Yeah, because of the occult type relations.
Yes.
And a perfect example of that, like Children of the Corn, you have this community of people, very tight-knit, stay to themselves, things like that, and they have these sort of traditions that aren't very traditional.
No.
And they're very secretive. Same instance when I was in Belize. It was a certain time of year. We don't celebrate Halloween. We call it Harvest, but no kids celebrate Halloween because they would go out on the Caribbean Sea and they would sacrifice goats. Sometimes they would sacrifice people to these evil entities and things like that. So when you're in a very third world, impoverished country, people will do anything for power or some sort of leg up in life.
Yeah, because you need some form of spiritual, economical, financial assistance when you're in a
hungry man is an angry man.
Yes.
You know what I mean? A hungry person is an angry person, and they will do anything, even betray the ones they love to be able to cure that sensation inside themselves. So it's to give the example of like the Children of Corn, it was an instance when we're walking around, me and my friends, Halloween, and we normally know we're not supposed to be out at this time. So now we were walking by this place they call Voodoo Temple, and it was known this place for devil worship, sacrifice, and things of that nature. So this one guy, he's going off, and these old women, and they called them the sisters, and they walked around with their eyes closed. They did not open their eyes. They say they don't need to use their human eyes to see. And they would walk around at night, eyes closed. You can tell that their eyes are closed. It's obvious that their eyes are closed. And they're just walking around, and they're walking, but in sync, almost like when birds are flying in sync. And they're walking like this. Their movements, very strange. And we're walking past this place, Voodoo Temple, and this guy is going off, and we're like, what the hell is going on? So we go up, and we're watching from a far distance. I was like 10 years old at the time. And the guy is going off saying, you obey my family. You put curse by my family, and you destroy my family, and this and that. So he started to, with a gas can, started to pour it around the building, Voodoo Temple. And the place had a bunch of paintings of like just these shadow people along the building. Very colorful building.
Made in the likeness or for dark purposes?
It was primarily for dark purposes. Reverse crosses, the whole nine.
Is it still there to this day?
It's still there to this day. The man burned the place down. We saw him light it up.
But it didn't go.
The next day, the place was intact as it always was. And that place is still intact and looked the same way from when I was 9 years old.
Wow.
And they call it Voodoo Temple. It's in Central America. It's in a town that I lived in called Stan Creek.
Wow. That's pretty amazing. Yeah, read the testimony.
And I swear to God, dude, I really wish I could make these kind of things up, but it was so many experiences things that we could not explain, and people would also, you know.
I got one that I want to let you speak on before I let you go. This is the only reason I want to speak on it, because you said it was a physical encounter that your father had with something.
Yes.
Now, non-physical encounters are just as scary as this physical one, but a physical one I feel like is more rare.
Well, this one is very unique. You know, shadow puppets. People play with shadow puppets and they'll make like a bunny, make a bunny.
Oh,
with
yeah,
their hands.
I've seen that
It
before.
seems innocent, right?
It does.
So, me and my brother and sister, we were playing in the house and we were making shadow puppets, doing butterflies and all this stuff. It's appearing to be fun. And we're in Central America at this time. So my father was like, you guys have to stop that right now. Do not do that anymore. I was just like, what's the problem? I was like, we're just playing with our shadows. And he was like, you have to understand something. People that in the spirit world, they are the shadows, and they have a voice. They have a voiceless voice. They can't be heard. They speak, and this room is crowded with people that are non-existent.
So basically, your father talking about not third, but fourth, fifth, sixth dimensions.
Absolutely, yeah.
In his own dialect, his own way of saying it.
Correct. And he's mentioning his experience where he was playing with shadows, and his mother said, "You better stop play with those spirits. You're making the spirits jealous. You're teasing them." So he kept doing it. But at that time, he was dealing with he was working with people that were clairvoyant and things like that. So he knew of this realm.
Okay.
From a very young age, and he was proclaimed a white witch, so a white warlock. So they would go and pray over people and cure people of
illnesses, ailments.
And I'm telling you, it's almost instant. It was instances where people, like you would see in like the African cultures where they would whip them with like a banana leaf or something like that.
I've seen it before.
A palm leaf, and they would whip them. An instance where you would see people getting whipped and the woman walking with a limp when she comes in. She's walking upright, straight.
When she leaves out.
But when she's sitting on the table, the white witch, they put like paper on the ground up below her feet, and as they're whipping her and they're praying over her and they're spraying white liquor on her, by the time she got up, she was able to leave. She pointed our attention to look at the paper on the ground, and it was black nails, rusted nails that fell out of her feet.
Oh wow! I have experience like that. Not me personally, but my grandmother. She's 1,000% Christian. Like, does not believe in the voodoo, hoodoo, and she's totally against going to seeing a quote unquote white witch. In South Carolina, we call him a root doctor.
Root doctor, yes.
That's what we call the guy who has the skills.
Or we call bush doctor.
Bush doctor, the guy that has the skills that the regular doctor doesn't have.
Yes.
He's not a medicinal doctor. He's holistic. He's herbal. He's grabbing stuff from vines and trees in the ground and healing people. Well, she had a wart on her head, and she loved her hands. She was always about her beauty. She had a wart on her ring finger that would never go away. She put the doctor give her this medicine, that medicine, this acid, this thing to take it off. It wouldn't go away. She went to him. He rubbed her hand for 5 minutes straight. When she left out, it was gone.
Yeah.
And then my grandma's not insane. She worked 40 years for a textile place called Marmac in McBee, South Carolina. Was the head seamstress there. Very responsible, very not eclectic, not super skeptic, outside of her religion. Yeah. And she'll even say that the white witch, the bushman, the voodoo doctor took the wart off her finger.
Sure.
Well, she got desperate, and the doctors couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
So your father's instant wrestling with it. Was a shadow was he wrestling with, or what was he wrestling with?
He couldn't see it.
Okay.
But all he knows, he said he felt something pushing him.
Okay.
And he ran home. And when he closed the door, he locked the door. His mom was like, "Boy, who you running from?" He was like, "Something to chase me." So he felt something pushed towards the door. My grandma was right there. She contested the entire story as well before she passed. So he said he felt something pushing the door and then banging on the door. And he didn't follow his best judgment. opened the door after some time. That was the worst mistake that he did. Because when he went to lay down, the same way like devil riding you, he felt something tussling with him in his bed. And it broke down his bed. So he was fighting something, and it felt like he said it felt like it was trying to crush the life out of him, like the wind out of him. And if he didn't fight as hard as he could, he knew he was going to die in that moment. And then his mother came in the room when she was finally able to come into the room, because he said, "Why didn't you come?" And she was just like, "I couldn't get the door open." She was like, "Why did you block the door?" He's like, "I did not block the door. The door, I was looking at the door, hoping that you would come through the door while I'm fighting whatever it was."
And you think this all stemmed from him playing with the shadow puppets?
Yeah. It's some instance where he was playing with the shadows, and some entity took offense, or something, some energetic being, took offense to that, and he became a victim of that. But he was open to know that
What was going on,
to know that something like that was a possibility, because the minute she told him, he stopped immediately.
It resonated with him. He understood what was going on.
But then he still tried to test the waters and tried not to believe it. But it already took root. The idea already took root inside him. So something like that, it's like, it seemed far-fetched. But then I hear my older brother had experience like that, where he's seeing this black dog scratching at his cousin's door at the other house across from ours, because a lot of the houses are on stilts. Similar to like houses in Florida and things like that. South Carolina, I believe they have houses on stilts near the coast, right? So he's looking at my cousin's house, and he was just like, "I thought you were home, but I saw this black dog. I thought you got some black dog." Went up to the door and was scratching at the door. And then I said, "Get away from the dog." So he said the dog turned around, looked around, and then he saw that black dog. But he only saw like just a shadow. It was very dark. And he seen it form into a person, the body of a person, and walk down the stairs.
Wow.
So he said from then, every night he would drink just to go to sleep, because he was terrified.